the regime in Iran is not only anti-Semitic, anti-Semitism is a small contribution of what they bring. They are a terrorist regime. And when you're a terrorist regime, they are terrorists on all levels against the Christians and especially the Jews.
Let me introduce our distinguished panelist today. Our first panelist, my dear friend, Imam Mohamad Tawhidi. As I said, he's a Shi'ite Muslim of Iraqi origin. He was born in Qum, the holy city of Qum in Iran, a famous city. His family immigrated to Australia when he was 12 years old. He attended the Australian Islamic College in Perth. He studied for a bachelor's degree in Islamic studies at Al-Mustafa University in Qum. He also studied and graduated from the Islamic Seminary in Qum and Karbala, Iraq. He later worked for one of the Shirazi-run television station in Karbala under the Grand Ayatollah Shirazi. He also, in 2015, he returned to Australia and is based in Adelaide. He's fluent in Arabic, Persian, Farsi, and English. Imam Tawhidi said that Grand Ayatollah Shirazi served as his religious leader whose authority one follows. But since 2015, I understand, Imam Tawhidi has stated that he does not subscribe to any religious leader at this moment. He will clarify that for us. Imam Tawhidi is president of the Islamic Association of South Australia, which he founded in 2016. He has written for the Huffington Post since January 2016. He refers to himself as the Imam of Peace, and that's his Twitter account. And he published a book which he gifted to me, and I enjoyed very much reading, The Tragedy of Islam, in 2018. And he's set to publish a few more books in the future, I understand. So welcome, Imam Tawhidi. Ali Adi, he is an Israeli Arab from a Muslim family, a Sunni Muslim family. He's a political activist and columnist. He holds a degree in cinema and economics. He grew up hearing always one side of the story, where Israel was depicted as the ultimate evil. However, life circumstances led him to adopt an independent way of thinking, sharing different ideas and opinions, putting them out there for questions. It is part of his journey to find and speak the truth about Israel's place in the world. Welcome, Ali. Nice to have you. Baruch haba. Ahlan wa sahlan. وتشرفنا. So as an opening remarks, I will begin with Imam Tawhidi. From your vantage point and your position as it relates to you, how do you see the state of affairs of Muslim-Jewish-Christian relations in the world today, especially that you all are from the region of the Middle East?
Greetings and peace be upon you all. Thank you very much for having me. It's my absolute honor and pleasure to be here. One in New York, two in this holy and sacred place, and three amongst my dear friends. Thank you very much, Rabbi, for the introduction. With regards to the Middle East and where Muslims stand with respect to the very fast developments that are taking place, whether it be on an economic level, on a political level, on a social level, or whether it be how the rest of the world are taking a look at Islam as a religion, Muslims as individuals, I feel that the Muslim leaders are the ones that have more to say than the communities themselves, because it involves them at the end of the day. The culture around the Muslim community is that whatever the Imam says, fine. Whatever the Ayatollah says, they're the ones that are to be listened to. And this is part of the problem, where the collective identity controls and dominates over the Muslim community. And it becomes very difficult for an individual to take a personal stand, even though they see all of these developments that I mentioned taking place. With regards to the Jewish community, it is definitely very different from the Christian community. Muslims are much closer to the Christians than they are to the Jews. And in a clerical world, we say su'u tawfiq, there is lack of blessings from God, that you would be aligned theologically with people who believe in a Trinity and don't believe in monotheism, and you are killing and butchering people who believe in the one God. From a theological perspective, the imams and the clerics appear to be somewhat in a hypocritical situation. But nevertheless, I think that moving forward, there has been great progress, but the progress has always been in areas of interfaith, areas of mutual respect where the law is dominant, such as in the West. But even then we find there are more challenges. The anti-Semitic attacks that take place here in New York, the spike in these incidents cannot be denied. I mean, personally, with all due respect, there has been failures from the authorities to watch over this development, because the Muslim community, even though they might be doctors and engineers and politicians, we are still a developing community. We're still a community that comes from a backward-minded culture. We still report back to people who are not up to date with what the West and Western democracy have to offer and the values within the West. And this is something we don't shy away from. We have to own it. This is part of the problem and we need to own it. So the spike in anti-Semitic attacks and the love and romance between the politicians and the BDS that we find today throughout the world does create a lot of question marks. And to answer your questions where we are heading, I think we're heading in the right direction as community leaders in the West. But then again, our efforts in comparison to the efforts of the BDS and those who support them, they cannot be compared. These guys, they have much better resources, they get more attention, their message is more accepted by celebrities and icons in pop culture than the message of peace that we bring along. But however, events like this, and especially what reservists on duty are doing, will eventually catch up. Because if we're coming head to head with them in universities, on the ground, in cities, if they have a voice, we also have a voice. And I think at the end of the day, this is the very important matter, that you can speak in a democracy, but we need to make sure that they don't become the voice of the community, the voice of the Muslims, when there are Muslims like us as well.
Thank you very much, Imam. Ali, what can you tell me?
When I look at the situation in Israel, I don't look at it in a perspective of religions, because I think that there are cynical political targets behind, or hidden goals behind the religions, and they are using the religions. As he said, my friend Imam Tawhidi, we are closer than we think, and they try to divide us from birth. And I can tell you from personal experience that even Arabs who live in Israel are they're being taught to hate Jews from the very start, or to see them as, don't want to say bad words here in this place, but they portray a picture about Jews that is seeded in the minds and hearts of the children since they are being born, to the point that even when the Jews do something good out of goodwill, it will be hard for the Arab person or Muslim person to believe that. They will also look for some, maybe there's a conspiracy or something behind it. There's a story about Lebanon. Israel interfered with the Lebanese war in '82. And Menachem Begin was the prime minister back then. And he said that we, the Jews, should not be stand aside while another people are being massacred. And he spoke about the Christians in Lebanon. So this interference came from this Jewish feeling that we've experienced persecution, the Jews, and we should not allow this to happen on our doorsteps. And even then, when Israel interfered, they tried to help and tried to bring even aid in medicine and food. People said Israel is planning to occupy Lebanon, or it has some malicious intentions behind it. So I was lucky enough to experience both sides. As you said, I was born in an Arab society, Arab community. I've been taught the things that Arabs in Israel are being taught about Israel, about the Jews, but also experienced I've lived within Jews. I experienced the other side. So I hope that the picture that I'm building about the situation is more accurate or wider than other people may experience.
Thank you, Ali. Thank you very much. We all know that the regime in Iran today is known by the majority of the world, not just the Jews, the Western world, but also the Arab states in the Gulf and other areas of the Middle East, as certainly an anti-Zionist regime. But I would add also that it's an anti-Semitic regime, even though they do claim that they respect and they give freedom to the Jews living in Iran. However, the Jews living in the rest of the world have been target of terrorist attacks that are sponsored, trained by Iran. And so that does nothing else but an anti-Semitic attitude of the regime. So Imam Tawhidi, Andrew Boston, who's the author of The Legacy of Jihad and The Legacy of Islamic Anti-Semitism, Sharia versus Freedom, he claims that you have said that there was no Shiite Islamic anti-Semitism in Iran till 1979. If that's the case, and he brings that really Walter Fisher, who was a preeminent Jewish historian of Persian Jewry in 1950 from his essay, The Jews of Persia, writes that the Safavid dynasty introduced Shia Islam as the state religion under the Shah Ismail in 1502 to 1524. They made the ritual uncleanliness, najis in Arabic, of the non-believers one of their principal cornerstone policies. This ritual uncleanliness of non-Muslims led to innumerable restrictions upon the daily life of all non-believers in Persia. The Qajar rulers from the late 18th century till 1925 inherited this intolerant attitude towards the non-believers. And therefore the Jew, being ritually unclean, according to them, had to be differentiated from the believer externally in every possible way. This became the most decisive factor in making the life of the Jews in the 19th century in Iran an uninterrupted sequence of persecution and oppression. Jews could not appear in public with their dress, much less perform the religious ceremonies, without being treated with scorn and contempt by the Muslim inhabitants of Persia, especially the Jews of Mashhad and their hidden life as Jews. That is very well known in the late 1800s. So the question is, isn't it accurate to say that all what the Khomeini revolution did was to restore those intolerant Shiite doctrines which were fleetingly eliminated during the Pahlavi period from 1925 to 1979?
Thank you very much. He quoted me very accurately, but I think there was more to that statement than just what he stated. I said that before 1979, the Iranian community had no problem with the Jewish people. And what I meant was, before the Ayatollahs took over the government, the Shia Muslims in general, and we can even extend this to Iraq, the Shia Muslims in general don't have a problem with the Jewish people. My brother here is a Sunni. I'm not saying him, but the Sunni leaders call us Shia the Jews of Islam. So we Shia, we don't really have any ambitions to establish governments, which is why the real authentic scholars in Islam do not recognize the Iranian regime. We don't believe that Muhammad had a government. And we're against all of the caliphs and all of the caliphates, which is why ISIS butchers us. The Shia Muslims have always been businessmen, farmers, people who live their lives however they like day to day, and we don't get involved in any of this. before 1979, the Jews and the Muslims in Iran lived in peace. The Safawi dynasty, yes, on paper they seem as though they have a manifesto, they have an ideology. They were drunken thugs. Nobody took them seriously. The Safawis themselves, they used to kill each other over power. And they were switching from Sunni to Shia, Shia to Sunni. They don't even know what they want. And because of that, today Saudi Arabia and Qatar and the UAE, they refer to the crazy tyrants in Tehran, they call them Safavids because they're showing the same behavior as the Safavids did. This is not a stable dynasty. This is a dynasty of maniacs. And the only reason why the majority of the Shia are silent about their corruption, that is because most of the shrines, the holy sites today, in Mashhad, in Qom, in Iran, in Shia Islam in general, were renovated by the Safawis, and their names are on them in calligraphy. So if I were to say, this man is a drunken thug, then how can his name be engraved in the holy sites in gold in Mashhad or Qom? So this chapter of development within the Iranian or Persia, the Persian region, is somewhat, we're silent about that because it shames us. But they are no one for us to take seriously. And when I say the Shia were good with the Jews, you can always compare. The Jewish community in Iran has been thriving for a very long time. Khomeini and his gang, they came and they drove them out. They left a small minority, which the rabbi mentioned, but they're only there so that the Ayatollahs can say, see, we have Jews in Iran, we love them. But the same Iranian militias butcher the leftover of Jews in Iraq. The same ones go targeting Jews in every other community. Who funds the BDS? Who funds CARE? Who funds NIAC? Who funds these organizations around the world? Who funds these clerics to go out and preach against the Jews? Who's chanting for I chanted, they forced me to chant for 7 years during my studies in Iran, death to the Jews. Who's chanting every Friday? Them, the Iranians do, every Friday, live TV. Every mosque throughout the country, after Friday prayers, they chant, if not after every prayer. So the regime in Iran is not only anti-Semitic, anti-Semitism is a small contribution of what they bring. They are a terrorist regime. And when you're a terrorist regime, they are terrorists on all levels against the Christians and especially the Jews. Because the real war, and this is something I would like to wrap up with, but to clarify, the real war in Iran is the war of identity. Iran does not have Mecca. Iran does not have Medina. And Iran claims to be the real representative of Islam. So what competition do they have with Saudi Arabia, the Sunni government? The issue of Palestine. We are the ones who are fighting for Palestine. How? Hezbollah, funding Hamas, funding Hezbollah, and so on. It's more of a war of identity. And when someone has a problem in his identity, he becomes a terrorist on all levels, especially when they have nuclear powers. So anti-Semitism is a given. It is part of their identity. And this is why they can never be trusted. And we can never deal with them. And any American administration that thinks there can be a deal with these people is fooling themselves and the rest of America and the voters. We can never deal with them. And I think they need to be called out through their embassies. And by embassies with an S, I mean the clerics that they send. When I was involved in making sure that the Iranian embassy in Ottawa, Canada, just next door, remains closed, the clerics in Iran said, is the mosque that we have still operating? And the answer was yes. That's it, we have the mosque. The mosques of Iran bring in more recruits and more funding and more political power and social dominance than an embassy ever could. So they need to be called out on all levels, on a diplomatic level and on a social level. And yes, their anti-Semitism is part of their identity. Thank you.
Thank you, Imam. Thank you very much. Ali, tell us about your experience. I know you began saying about that as an Israeli Arab Sunni Muslim living in Israel. How do you see yourself, as an Arab or as an Israeli? And what can you say about the Israeli Arab members of Knesset today, that some of them are even against the existence of Israel as a state, as a sovereign state? So do you believe they represent you?
First, I have to make a statement to clear something. As long as we're a democracy and people voted for them, so they are legitimate, theoretically speaking. Those who voted for them probably think they are representing them the best way. That's why they vote. I've never voted for them, and I will never will. As I see myself, being an Israeli Arab it's a dual identity. I don't see myself as more on this side or the other side. I think it's more interesting to enjoy both sides and enjoy both cultures. And I remember when I grew up, I watched the Israeli Educational Channel. So I grew up hearing Hebrew since birth and Arabic in my home. So about the joint list, the Arab list, in my opinion, when I cleared that they are legitimate, I think they are doing something very vile and irresponsible, because they are aiming to make a political gain to the detriment of the relationships between the Arabs and the Jews in Israel, which are fragile, already very fragile. And they are exploiting that in a sense that they are, we all know that in politics it's very easy to get people to go and vote for you if you arise in them feelings of discriminations or feelings of depression, and you are being persecuted. So they are preserving these feelings among the Arabs in Israel. They encourage them to feel more disconnected from the state of Israel, disconnected from their fellow Jews who share this land with them. And while this gives them maybe 1 or 2 seats in the Knesset, on the long run, I think it would cause a harm that, or would break or make a gap too big to mend. And I cannot forgive them for that. And I don't think they do it for, they don't know what they're doing. They're intelligent people and they know what they're doing. They just, I think they don't care enough about the people, the Arabs in Israel. They're basically dragging them into war, which is, I can't imagine something more irresponsible than that.
Thank you. Yes, I can testify, because I witnessed the relationship between Ahmad Tibi and a Jewish member of Knesset of Israel from the right, completely enjoying a nice lunch at the Knesset dining room, which I frequently visit and am invited to. And I asked them, I said, you were killing each other inside the chamber just a few minutes ago. And now you're having lunch, enjoying each other. They said, do you want us to kill ourselves right here also, they said? No, it's not enough to kill ourselves inside. We have to kill ourselves also in the dining room. It's all politics. That's correct. They said, inside the chamber, it's either a Greek tragedy or a Roman theater. Outside is reality of life. So, Ali, I identify with you as somebody with a dual identification or identity. I am a Jew from an Arab country, Lebanon. I was born there, grew up there till age 10. My parents are from Syria. And certainly when I was asked, what are you, a Jew or a Lebanese? I said, I'm a Lebanese Jew. So, and that does not contradict each other. Jew by religion, by tradition, and Lebanese by culture. And so I understand very well that, and there's no contradiction. I don't see that. Imam, my dear Imam, so you are accused by your detractors of being an anti-Sunni. In your book, The Tragedy of Islam, that you gifted me and I had the pleasure to read, you practically accused the early Sunni caliphs, and you mentioned it in the previous questions, of being murderous, drunk, rapist, blasphemous, and illegitimate. You also advocate banning several early Muslim sacred books. Wouldn't doing that practically delegitimizes Sunni Islam?
In my book, page 241, it is the beginning of a chapter called Difficulties of Shia Islam and Shia Islamic Governance. Page 277 is the beginning of another chapter called The Governing Muslim Body in Iran, which is a Shia Islamic government. My book has 2 chapters on Shia Islam, not 1 chapter on Sunni Islam. But I did mention the wife of the Prophet, I mentioned the caliphs of Islam, which are respected by the Sunni school of thought. But I have a question. Is he not my prophet as well? So if the caliph is the father-in-law of the Prophet, do I not have the right to speak and to examine and to study and to write about the family of my Prophet? This is my question. I don't understand what is Sunni and what is Shi'i about the family of the Prophet. If he is my Prophet, then the wife of the Prophet belongs to both of us. There's no real fight. I don't see the fight. The Sunnis can see her as a glorious figure, and many Shia, especially the Iranian government, see her as a glorious figure, and others see them as political figures. And people outside the religion see not only her, see the whole of Islam being a scam. We can't hold people and force them to think how we think about people before. People used to tell me, why do you not love this lady? So who's this lady? She existed 1,500 years ago because of her relationship with the family of the Prophet. And I tell you, I only love my lady, ya akhi. Why do you want me to love other people's ladies? I have my lady, I love her, I don't love anybody else. And let alone 1,400 years ago, I don't know who they are. This ignorant bond and love that we have with historical figures is the problem in our community. So what? In my book, I speak about Shia figures. Many of my Shia family members and friends, they say, why do you speak about them? I said, what do you mean by speak about them? What do you mean? I'm detailing historical evidence. If it's wrong, refute it. If it didn't happen, then I'm a liar. You don't have to worry about it. Either way, we all agree that me, Tawhidi, I am nobody compared to the family of the Prophet or to the Shia figures. So what I say shouldn't bother you unless it's true and you don't want people to read it in English. That's the only reason. I studied in the Australian Islamic College, Sunni school. I memorized the majority of the Quran, especially Surah Al-Baqarah, the largest chapter in the Quran, under Sunni teachers in Masjid Al-Taqwa and Mirrabooka, Perth, Western Australia, Sunni mosque. Most of the books that I studied in Iran were influenced by Sahih al-Bukhari, a Sunni book. I don't have a problem with the Sunni school of thought. In fact, this sectarian card, this card of sectarianism, is only used to shut people down. How do we silence him? We call him sectarian, or we call him fake, or we call him spy. You imagine, Rabbi, you go to a Muslim community and they call me spy. Think of it, think of it. So the Mossad hunt for me, they train me, and they prepare me with all the tools I need for I don't know how many years, and then send me just to sit next to an imam. Who are you? Are you that important? Do you really think in the Mossad or in the CIA there is a department just for you? And what isn't that they don't know? What do you have? You're nobody. So this arrogance makes them think that because you're not with us, so you must be sent by someone. The Jews, someone sent you. And they think they're that important. And if you read their whole lives and their studies, nothing more than what is pure, what is not pure, what age you can marry a girl, female genital mutilation, drinking camel urine, things like that. There is nothing important of any, nothing, not like they have the secrets to the, to the serious problems facing our planet. Yet they will accuse you of sectarianism just to shut you down. I'm a reformist. A reformist, which means I work on the Muslim mentality, on the Muslim mindset. My organization has Shia and Sunnis, and I do not care where you are from. Here is my Sunni brother, and I do not care what denomination you belong to. And this is very important, by the way. Whenever a Muslim wants to make peace, the extremists will shut him down by saying sectarian. And sectarianism really doesn't exist. If it exists between Muslims only. So no one really cares from the outside. And I look at Islam, if you want to present solutions, you can't look at Islam from the inside to present solutions. You have to look at it from the outside, because Islam is not one body. So many denominations, you have to go step back and look at everybody and their problems and try to address them individually. And you can't be a sectarian if you are defending the Muslims. Yes, I'm in a synagogue, but I'm defending the Muslims. My job now, I'm defending the Muslims from Ilhan Omar, from the BDS, from the extremists, from Iran. We have a silent majority that fears these people. I speak for them. They don't come to you, they come to me. I speak for them. So I'm not a sectarian. And yes, in a way I am. Yes, I like to separate between the extremists and the peaceful ones. In that sense, I am the biggest sectarian. I like to divide the corrupt clerics from the vulnerable community members who keep getting brainwashed and end up, as jihadists fighting with ISIS. You imagine someone from America, Ilhan Omar's district, Minnesota. The FBI say it's the hotbed for ISIS recruits. Imagine someone born in America, attends a mosque for 2 months, packs up, wants to go join ISIS. So we need someone to separate the community and to make sure that the vulnerable ones do not fall prey to the teachings of these jihadist preachers. In that sense, yes, I'm the best sectarian out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Imam. Yeah, I have to say that after reading your book from front to back, you are a fair person in that sense. You have criticized Sunni leaders and Shia leaders, whatever you thought they were out of line, and I could testify to that.
Thank you.
And I have to say that this meeting in itself is an example of brotherly love and non-sectarianism, as this is an Ashkenazi synagogue, and we have a Sephardic congregation in it. And that's the best combination that we could have. Thank you. Ali, we have heard of the opening towards Israel by the Gulf states, Bahrain, Oman, United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia. We know that there have been under the table, so to speak, exchanges technologically, militarily, strategically, economically even, intelligence, information and gathering. The only thing missing is a diplomatic representation. And as one of the leaders of a Gulf Arab country said, that's the least important part. Everything else is taking place between those countries. So How is that change influencing the minds of Israeli Arabs or the minds of the Palestinian Arabs, if any?
If any minds or if
No,
any...
if it's influencing or not influencing, and if that change bodes a good future.
You know, it's funny that I think the Arabs in Israel they voice their opposition to Israel, to Israeli government, to the existence of Israel, even more aggressively than Arabs in other countries, which I can't understand. But I will explain that later. I think that the Saudi Arabia's relationship with Israel comes more from the hatred to the Shi'ite Islam and less from a shared values with Israel. Because think about it. Saudi Arabia is the furthest away from the Western values you can think about. I think that Israel and the West have more in common with Jordan and Lebanon than any other Arab countries. Yet we are, like Lebanon hates our guts to like I think one president, I don't remember his name, but one president in Lebanon, he said that if the whole Arab world signed a peace agreement with Israel, we will be the last, if at all. So that's why I don't take that too naively or too optimistically. But I want to say something just a little bit about identity, because I think this is the root of all the, I don't want to say evils, but the disputes that we see in the Middle East. One small anecdote about the Shi'ite Muslims, what you mentioned about the identity in Iran, you can see that even more aggressively in Lebanon during the civil war. During the 80s, the Shiites were really marginalized. They were a small group in Lebanon, barely heard. And then when Hezbollah and Amal started to emerge, they managed to sweep the youth, the masses, by this identity card, by saying, you are Shiite, you are part of something bigger than yourself. And in just few years, something big started to change in the Shiite Muslim world as we see it now today. And I think it can be the same about the Arabs in Israel. We live in times that identity is very important. Each one search for his unique identity. People of color, LGBT. We all want to belong somewhere. So the Israeli Arabs are starting to adopt this Palestinian identity, it's weird because even Arabs in Israel, even before the State of Israel and after the establishment of the State of Israel, they didn't call themselves Palestinians until the 1964, when the PLO was established, and then after the 1967 war, when Israel took over the West Bank. They haven't used the word Palestinian to describe themselves. And now today, amongst the youth in Israel, the Arab youth in Israel, who go and study in the Tel Aviv University or Haifa University, and they are leading a very modern lifestyle, they call themselves Palestinian. And they are widening the gap with the Jews, because basically, the Palestinian organizations emerged originally to counter the Zionism. So you're just telling your fellow Jews, your fellow classmates, that I am Palestinian. I am describing myself as an opposition to your spiritual connection to this land, or to your whole beliefs and country and lifestyle. So I think if we manage to convince the Arabs in Israel that being an Arab and an Israeli at the same time is something that you can be proud of, because pride is something that Arabs take way too seriously, a change can happen. Meanwhile, nobody is initiating any change or any movement to change that. And as I said, the Arab politicians, they are enjoying the situation. They're enjoying the fact that there's clashes and there's tensions between the Arabs and the Jews.
Thank you. I have to say that I have had conversations with high clerics in Saudi Arabia and also high political figures. And I sense that there is a fundamental change in their feelings for Israel and for the Jews. I don't think it's just a strategic change. I think there's a fundamental change of what they believe about the Jews and what they believe about Israel. We know this famous Saudi blogger and few others who have demonstrated certain kinship with the Jewish people. In fact, I was revealed that many in the high echelons of Saudi Arabia's leadership have Jewish ancestry. And they recognize that. And they showed me artifact of their great-great-great-great-great-grandparents' Jewish artifact. And so no, I do believe that change is fundamental, and it's changing, and it's not just strategic.
I hope too.
Yes, which is a much better outlook. We're going to go to our last question from me, then we're going to have a closing remark, or we could open the floor for individual questions. So, my dear Imam Tawhidi, ecumenical and interfaith activities are becoming a fad. Almost every other week I hear there is a conference somewhere in the world about that. And when anybody gets involved, including myself, and I'm sure yourself too. Have you had dealing with other, what we call them moderate, either imams, Muslim leaders, like Sheikh Mohammed Al-Isa from the Muslim World League, or Zuhdi Jasser, or Imam Muhammad Al-Husseini from Lebanon? And how do you think this work can combat anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism?
Thank you very much, dear Rabbi. I have not met or worked with or come across any of the people you mentioned. I know who they are, but I have not been in any events with them. And with all due respect, I would not be in any event with them. I have had a very hard time with peaceful Muslims, and behind the scene there's something else. We say from outside, "Halla halla," from Ya'lam Allah. We have a big problem in the reform movements of Islam. And
we have the same problem with Reform Jews, but okay.
Let me give you an example. An extremist Muslim going against another extremist Muslim does not make them peaceful. And this will summarize why I do not deal with these people. Like Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, who founded Wahhabism, said he was a reformer. Osama bin Laden says he said he was a reformer. Al-Baghdadi says, I'm here to reform. All of them are reformers. So the word reformer has been used in a very manipulative way, especially when someone has political ambitions. The Muslim World League is the #1 anti-Semitic organization that has managed to successfully infiltrate the West. And most recently, they had an event in France where the chief rabbi of France was invited to go there, and I was one of the people who wrote him a letter and protested the fact that he should not go there. And Raif Badawi, who is my friend, the Saudi blogger who is in prison in Saudi Arabia, his wife packed up her bags from Canada to go to France to protest against this event. This is the event that cheered for the flogging and beheading and so on of people in the Middle East. But these are not reformists. These are not reformists. I don't wish to mention some of their names because I don't want to create problems, but I do not meet with them. Now, interfaith is the question. I attend events of interfaith and I participate to take pictures only. I'll be honest with you. A picture says 1,000 words. If I go and there's a nice looking archbishop, I will take a picture with him and hug him and then post online to have that effect. Look, I am not full of hate, I hugged an archbishop. And he comes and he looks for the imam with gold and he can we take a picture? We take a picture. He also shows his boss or his seniors that he is not Islamophobic and he is with the Muslims and so on. This is the reality of interfaith. Good pictures, good food, go home. To think that the world will change with interfaith, this is the biggest lie, and it's a waste of money. If the intention is to change the world through interfaith, I don't know your opinion, but this is my opinion. I don't believe it. No way, no way. Because show me, have you ever seen an interfaith conference result in the solving of serious conflict? No, they all go there to have fun. This is our getaway as clerics. We go to have fun. Can interfaith be used to solve problems? It can. It can. But not the way it is being used today. The way interfaith can be used to solve problems is that you bring the leaders, top faith leaders of every denomination, and you make them sign and testify a peace agreement with everybody in the community. And then we should take this and make it a world of, we call it a parliament of world religions, where people attend and we ban certain books. What's the point of me attending an event with you? Ya Rabbi, I'm sitting with you. Then I go to my mosque, I have on the shelf a book that curses you. What kind of interfaith is this? This is hypocrisy. So we need to sign an agreement. You will not preach hate against me in any language. We don't want to find that memory, translate one of your clips tomorrow, and then there's a picture that I have with you. This happens. You know, they attend in Arabic or in English, and then in Farsi is a different, like Al Jazeera. Al Jazeera Arabic is completely against America and the Jews and the West. AJ Plus is like the Democratic Party. You never know. So we need to be very realistic. So interfaith, the way it's running now, it's not realistic. It does not work, and it will have a bad effect because people are losing hope. To a certain degree, a cleric will say, I'm no longer going to attend. What's the point? We need actionable work. You attend, everybody has a paper, you vow that we're going to be like brothers and sisters, and we move forward. And when there is an anti-Semitic attack in your area, you will condemn it, you will release a statement. We need to have a platform where these statements are uploaded. We need to write joint essays. We need to have joint events. Moving forward, that is the only way we can take interfaith to another level. But for the way it's being operated, especially in America and in Europe, this is just for networking and taking pictures and cappuccino. That's as far as it goes. Sorry.
Thank you very much. Very interesting, I must say. Yes, there are definitely so-called interfaith leaders that they go for the photo op. But I do believe that there are others that go for actual work. And I must say, the history of the Muslim World League, though, was founded in 1962 or 63 to spread Wahhabism, which is, the extremist view of Islam throughout the world. It was kind of an unspoken deal between the leaders of the Muslim World League in those days and the leaders of Saudi Arabia. You could spread Wahhabism anywhere in the world. Don't spread it here in my own territory. But I think the reality has come that it has come back to bite them, so to speak, because you can't put borders to philosophy and especially now with social media and the internet. And so I think now the new leadership of the Muslim World League have realized that, and they have been turning that organization towards a much more moderate position. I could testify myself. Last week, when the news of an Australian Jewish boy with pictures seen that he was forced by his classmates, Muslim children, classmates, who forced him to kneel and kiss the shoes or the feet of a Muslim boy, Muslim student. I immediately contacted Sheikh Muhammad Al-Isa, who I know personally. I sent him that article and I said, would you condemn that publicly? He said, let me take a look, I'll get back to you. In less than 3 days, he issued a public condemnation. He tweeted it, and he issued a letter, an unequivocal condemnation of that action. And so I, of course, applauded him for his act. I have a few other things that I'm going to present him with and see where that will go. Now, regarding signing a declaration, there was a meeting in last January in United Arab Emirates in Abu Dhabi, known as the Human Fraternity Meeting, where the Pope Francis was there. Imam Tayyib from Al-Azhar University, which is the preeminent Sunni institute in Cairo. They both signed a declaration of human fraternity, which is to bring to acceptance, tolerance of views, religions, and there is no animosity between those. There was a follow-up meeting just 3 weeks ago here in New York, in which I participated, and that declaration was restated and reinstated, and that is going to continue. So we do hope that those signatures on that document will bring a change. Change is going to take time, but I have the hope that it will take place. So our last question to Ali. My dear Ali, if one day there will be a real peace between the Arab Palestinians in Ramallah, represented in Ramallah, and the state of Israel, and you are given a choice to be a citizen of Palestine or of Israel, what would you choose and why?
You know, every person with a functioning brain or two eyes will decide to stay in Israel, and I think that that applies to 99% of the Arabs who already live in Israel and will continue to live in Israel, will choose to continue to live in Israel. I think when the Palestinians demand independence, they're not seeking dignified lives or better future for their children, because they know they will not get any of that in a Palestinian state. They know that. But they're seeking vengeance towards Israel, towards the Jews. You can see now that the Palestinian Authority is not very strong. It's quite small. It depends on economic aid and help from all over the world. And even though it's so weak, it already uses its power to persecute its people and it's very, I cannot comprehend that. Like, people who claim that they are so thirsty for democracy and freedom, they cannot give their own citizens freedom. So I don't believe that these are their real intentions. And that's why I think also that the Palestinians they don't really want a state of their own. Because a state of their own is, they will get nothing but a chance to build their own future, which is, who wants this burden on themselves?
Now, can they build their own future?
I don't think so.
Can
because this is not politically correct, but if you look at all the Arab countries, you see a pattern. And this is called the Arab culture. Not necessarily the Islam, but the Arab mindset. And there's no reason to think that the Palestinians will be different, because they're still part of the Arab world. They show no difference in their cultural behavior. And thank you.
Very well. I want to thank you very much. I'm going to open up the floor for 3 questions, and there are 3 main questions. Question number 1, silence, that we cannot really be silent because being silent, we're not going to be able to change anything. How can we change that silence into something that can change the future? Question number 2, the Sunni-Shiite divide, wars, disagreement is as old as Islam itself. Not that Christianity did not have the fight between Catholic and Protestant during the Middle Ages, but kind of we have seen the end of it. When can we see, or what needs to be done? What's the end of that divide between Sunnis and Shia? And the third question is, we know the concept of people have to follow the law of the land, or the law of the king, of the sovereign. And that seemed to be a difficulty of Islamic communities throughout the world, in which either something is preventing them from following the law of the land, or they just don't want to follow the law of the land. What can you say about that, and what can be done?
Thank you very much for your questions. First, I'll answer your question on the Sunni-Shia divide. The Sunni-Shia divide has been going on for as long as Islam has existed. Will it end? It will never end. I would love for it to end.
When the Mahdi comes?
It will never end. Even the Mahdi will be fought by Shia and Sunnis. It's in our prophecies. So I don't know the future, but in our books it says that. So most of the battles of the Savior will be fought within the Middle East amongst his own people. So I don't ever believe that this conflict will come to an end. If it was to come to an end, the solution would be that both sides need to believe and accept freedom of speech. This is the only way. Because the Shia accept the Christians and they accept the Jewish people to the extent that they will not have such an ongoing war. I mean, if you take Palestine, Hamas, and Israel out of the equation, you look at the two religions, to a certain degree, it's not that bad compared to how the Shia and Sunnis are fighting. You know, like I said, without the last 70 years, we're talking about a war that's been going on for over 1,300 years. I will never, I can't see it coming to an end unless they both agree on freedom of speech. You reject my God, I reject your God. You reject my version of Muhammad, I reject your version of the Prophet Muhammad. You reject the caliphs, I reject the family of the Prophet, and let us live in peace. And that's how it's going to be. For as long as a Sunni says, because you Shia curse Aisha, and because of the Shia they say, oh, you guys, your caliphs killed Fatima, then the fight will never finish. Just the only way is freedom of speech. This side will always keep talking, this side will always keep talking. We need to listen and just move on. That's the only way. Move on. Israel moved on. Now they're sending missions to the moon. Hamas hasn't moved on. Good luck getting to the moon. Right? It's about moving on. And I have to be realistic. This fight, it's not in the interest of the world leaders that it stops. So it needs to end on the social level, and freedom of speech is the only way. Your first question regarding the silence of the Muslim community. If you mean the Muslims themselves, they're not silent. The Muslims themselves, they're all over the news and social media, and they're talking. Like, not all of them, but in New York, I can tell you, at least 80% of the youth are online. And they're talking. None of them, I'll make a revelation here. Ilhan Omar and Karen and Rashida Tlaib, they can't enter every Muslim mosque in America. They're not welcome like that. They give you the impression they are representing the Muslim community. But good luck going into a mosque that is against the Muslim Brotherhood. They won't accept you. So not all Muslims are on the same page. So yes, there are Muslims that speak out. What you need isn't the Muslims that speak out. You need Muslim leaders. You need the Imams that speak out. Those are the ones that we would like for them to speak. How many Imams in America? I don't know. I think it's around 400, 500. Do you hear 50 speak out when there's a terrorist attack? So you need them to come out. So the question mark is here. Why do they not speak out? I'm a Muslim cleric. I'll tell you why. It costs too much. It costs them to speak out. It costs them in their reputation, their income, their position, their family, their future, everything, everything. It's not that easy. And let me be more personal with you. And I was telling the ladies here, I make an income through my writings, through my books, through my teachings, and a few business projects that I have. Not every cleric has that. They think if I say something, tomorrow another imam will be brought here that the director of the center likes more than me. So the loyalty is to the position. It's very hard they fight over who gets to speak in order so they can get paid and feed their families. So don't expect them to make such a powerful stand so fast. And your third question regarding following law of the land. In Islam, there is no such thing as law of the land. There is only the law of God. Now, good luck interpreting the law of God. The law of God in Saudi Arabia, chop heads off. The law of God in Kuwait, again, Sunni Muslim country, is not to chop heads off. The law of God in Iran is to hang. It's good luck interpreting the law of God when it comes to specific cases which we see in the media. And because of that, again, we cannot put our finger on an issue and solve it in that way. The only way, if you fear Sharia law, trust me, it will not take over America. You have some really crazy fighters in America. Like, you know, these people in Texas and so on, they comment on my social media posts. I get scared. Me, I have no plan of any Sharia or anything, I get scared. I made one post of an Islamic extremist saying they are here to take over. You just talk, yap, yap, yap. They are here to take over. One of the guys online took a picture of bullets in his hand and he uploaded it online. Like, this makes me get worried and I have to be prepared in case the media asks me or whatever. So I block them. So it's very important for you to understand, they will never take over. It can't. They don't have the brains to take over. Yeah. It's not only making babies and having ammunition. They don't have the brains to take over. The Muslim community, every day there's a fight in the Muslim center between two imams and they break up and they go make another center. And to justify it, they say, see, even Allah uses Satan in order to spread his religion. They chop, maybe, I don't know if you have the same problem.
Similar in the Jewish community.
But the Jewish community doesn't have an agenda to take over. So it cannot be seen as a sign of weakness. If you believe the Muslims have an agenda, or if anyone believes the Muslims have an agenda to take over, they can't even sit together themselves. They butcher each other. They have no leadership. So don't worry about that. As for law of the land, you have to ask yourself a very important question. Has America gotten weaker, or have the extremists gotten stronger in their lobbying to the point that they believe they deserve special treatment? I don't deserve special treatment. So why should the extremists expect special treatment? So law of the land is too broad of a topic. And I think with strong politicians in power, like what we have in Poland, in Romania, they don't take nonsense from anyone. And you find law of the land is well respected. But here, it's like spines don't exist anymore. I don't know how they walk, these politicians. One Rolex, he'll sell you his whole religion. It's as simple as that. Yeah, we'll move on to the next question.
Thank you very much. So we'll take a question from here. So the question is basically, very thankful that reservists on duty for the last 30 years has been trying to educate especially youngsters under the damage of the brainwashing, right? Brainwashing, the BDS brainwashing, and especially now we see that there is brainwashing in the mainstream media. The question is, what can be done, or what's being done to outdo that brainwashing? Maybe we'll start with Ali.
Well, I can say about myself that I'm an Arab. I was born an Arab. I was never born to Western values. And in spite of that, I feel proud in Western values, and I'm willing to fight for them. The media, what you said about the extremists, they're not really affecting the media. They're only using the ground that has been prepared previously for them. So there's a progressive movement that just, I think the underline behind it is just feeling ashamed of being where we are now as the West, as being the leader of the free world. So they're apologizing to everyone who feels excluded or out of the picture, and it includes minorities, which is sometimes justified, but when it comes to extremists, it's not justified. And I think we as a society, as the West, I say we, have to change our mindset before even speaking to them, because we can understand why they're doing that. They have very clear goals and they're going for that. I can't blame them, but we have to look at ourselves. And I don't have a solution, but I believe that if the progressive movements, one day it will cross a line of no return, that the conservatives or the people who are proud of their values, the values that they've built over the years, they will fight back. And I think they will win, hopefully.
Thank you very much. And our last question, any question from that table? What is the most important thing in your life that made you have a much more open view of life, given the education that you received, and how can be used to influence other people also to be in that way?
That's my whole life story, actually. Just like a brief conclusion about my background, my family came from a big city, Arab city in the north of Israel, but I was born and raised in a very small, isolated, very traditional, very religious village, Muslim village in the south of Israel. And the cultural gap, even though we're both Muslims, was huge. And we looked different, and we had different dialect when we speak. So that I was lucky enough to have this opportunity to be raised in a place that I didn't feel belong to. So that pushed me to always question my relationship with my environment, my identity, my values. You can guess that I wasn't very popular at school. So I already paid the social price. And I looked at the situation I'm in and said, okay, I'm already on this path that I don't feel obligated to the mainstream, to what people think and behave, and I can develop my own way of thinking. And I continued with that. I think people tend to adapt what their environment gives to them. And it's the human nature. Like I can't bend it with force. You can't change people. So sometimes people are just, it's like a fish out of the water. When you get out, you have to face more serious questions, and you can develop different perspectives. But I think that Arabs in Israel, they already have the opportunity because they are already in Israel. They're not in their very comfortable Arab environment. There are some, parameters there. There are some, people or leaders who insist on separating to make it more comfortable to stay where you are and with your beliefs and fight back those who want you to integrate or meet them in the middle of the way.
Thank you very much. Right, so basically the question is, and especially in countries where you have different communities, if each community learns only about itself, is not going to foster friendliness and fraternity. Each community has to learn not only about themselves, but also about the other community that exists. Specifically in Israel, for example, the Arab community, of course, needs to learn about itself and its tradition, but also they need to learn about the rest Jewish Israeli community. And likewise, the Jewish Israeli community should learn about the Arab community in their midst, so that way there will be understanding. Once there is understanding, there is trust, and there is tolerance. But also in other countries in the Middle East, in their education, they need to educate the children from very, very young, tolerance and the understanding that other people and other countries have a right to exist also. So that is the key. And so where can that be implemented specifically by leaders, by Muslim leaders, by Jewish leaders, by political leaders, to foster that understanding between people?
With regards to the education, I believe the best place to start is madrasas and the mosque, and how we could get booklets, curriculums through schools and mosques to the Muslim community. And these can be authored by Muslims themselves. So having a group of Muslims like the people who come to my events, the Muslim events, people who pray behind me, those type of Muslims who are experts in this field. Of course, I can write about peace, but about cultures and how we could understand each other, I would need someone who specializes in that field so that the outcome is much better. So I would start with those venues. I wouldn't start with the media, because whatever comes in the media has something that opposes it. And these mindsets that we are targeting are very easy to brainwash. These people are very easy to brainwash. And it's amazing how easy it can be. I mean, if I were to say, I'm going to attend a peace event with the Jewish community, an Islamic extremist knows he cannot oppose peace because you look bad. But what he can say, the people who are the descendants of the monkeys and the pigs, you're going with them. You see? So any Muslim who hears that will immediately change. I'm not going to the event anymore. So you can spend a long time preparing a curriculum, changing a culture, and come one extremist with one comment online can put them off. I think we need actual written work, and in academic educational environments where people cannot be brainwashed quickly and pressured, and social media is the best place to be brainwashed and the best place to change your mind about anything so fast. So that's to begin with. If you have any hope of change coming from Muslim leaders in Palestine or political leaders in Israel, then you need to reassess and your judgment. Let me give you an example. Have you heard of Azmi Bshara? Former member of the Knesset. Azmi Bshara, his name is Abu Tony. He's an alcoholic, drunken fool, who even his own people don't take him seriously. A Christian, drunken. Abu Tony is the supervisor of the Muslim Brotherhood operations around the world. Can you believe it? You tell the Muslim Brotherhood, and today he serves as one of the right-hand men for the Emir of Qatar. And he's with him in all the pictures, showing him around. He knows Qatar more than the Emir himself. He tells the Emir where to go, where to come. So, since when did the Muslim Brotherhood accept a man who is Abu Tony, a Christian, alcoholic, Israeli, former member of the Knesset. Since when did they accept this man to monitor and supervise their operations? Since the money was good. That's since when? These people are in there for their own benefit. And the Islamic extremists recruit them because they know what they're like. The Muslim leaders in Palestine, if they want in Israel or Hamas or the Palestinian Authority, if they really wanted for the Muslims to know the reality of the Jews and to open a door of dialogue and acceptance of culture, they don't need anybody else. They have themselves. They have the best platforms. They are there in government buildings with them. Who funds them? How does the funding get to them? If they wanted to, they would have a long time ago. But it's not in their interest. What, you wanted them to now think that the Jews are humans? Like everybody else? How is he going to be a billionaire? Where is he going to get the children from their mothers to, hey, go blow yourself up? Where is he going to get an army? We're not dealing with people who are good people. These are evil people. And they have an evil agenda.
Let me say something to what the Imam said. A very high-ranking official in Israel who was involved in the negotiations with Yasser Arafat at the Camp David II, where Yasser Arafat refused, 97% of Judea and Samaria, and to make peace. And Yasser Arafat said it very clearly. He said, do you want me to make peace? If I'll make peace, I'll be like Tanzania, one of those countries. Nobody will think about me. Without peace, I visit the White House 100 times a year. I'm very important. I get a lot of money. I get a lot of support. The day after I make peace, I'm Mr. Nobody. So that's exactly what you said. Anything else, Ali?
Yeah, just one sentence. About what you said about brainwashing in school and media. Call me naive, but I believe in the human mind. I believe in honesty and dignity. I think that each and every person around the world, wherever he was born and lived, and whatever he learned when he was a child, he has reason and logic, and he can find the path of truth. I was born into an environment that led me to believe that the Jews are the most aggressive being on this globe, that they are just killing for fun. And here I am today. Just because this one decision to think for myself and to decide that I want to be obligated to the truth, not to what other people think. And if I can do that, anybody can do that.
It's 2025. America's debt is over $37 trillion, and the dollar just had its worst crash since 1973. That puts your savings and your family's future at risk. That's why we trust Alpha Omega Gold, a company that stands unapologetically with Israel and supports Stand Tall Israel. Visit ao.gold/stand to claim your free precious metals wayfinder guide or call 1-855-426-4653 today. Protect your future before it's too late.